Imagine your computer is like completely glitching out. Usually you download a patch, you restart, and you hope for the best.
Right, you're still running the exact same operating system, just with fewer bugs.
Exactly. But what if the only fix was to wipe the hard drive entirely and install a fundamentally different, brand new OS? Welcome. We're looking at a pretty fascinating piece from the Rhapsody of Reality's daily devotional by Pastor Chris, specifically an excerpt titled A Life-Giver Radiant, Lambent, and Divine. And the core premise is huge. It argues that being born again isn't just like a change of mind. It's not a software patch. It is a literal ground-up recreation of the human spirit.
Right, it rejects the whole idea of spiritual self-improvement entirely in favor of a complete genesis.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm already struggling with the OS analogy. A new OS usually means the hardware is going to act completely differently. Does this text literally mean a person is rebuilt from scratch?
It does, yeah. The text asserts this is a literal overwrite executed by the Holy Spirit. And to explain the mechanism behind this, the author points to 1 Corinthians 15.45. He draws a really hard line between the first Adam, who was made a living soul, and the last Adam, referring to Jesus, who was made a quickening spirit.
Wait, quickening? That sounds like an old school way of saying coming to life. But how does that explain the mechanics of this new OS?
Well, it's actually the difference between having life and generating it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a living soul just exists, right? It requires energy to stay alive. But a quickening spirit is an active generator. I mean, it produces life continuously.
So it's not just a battery, it's the actual power plant.
Exactly. So the text is saying you aren't just given a second chance, you are upgraded into a completely different category of existence that generates its own spiritual power. And what's fascinating here is the specific vocabulary the author uses to describe this upgrade. Because it's a total overwrite, the text claims believers become taxonomically different from the natural man.
Wait, taxonomically? That is hardcore biology language.
Right. It argues they form an entirely new race.
That implies a literal mutation at the species level.
Yeah, you aren't just a forgiven human. The argument is that you are a totally new species headed by Jesus.
But let's ground this a bit, because the text gives this wild, real-world example for you to picture. Two siblings, same parents, same childhood home, genetically identical.
Oh, yeah, the sibling example.
Right, but if one is born again and the other isn't, the text claims they belong to completely different realms, like they are worlds apart.
Yeah, they might share DNA, but spiritually their operating systems are entirely incompatible.
But saying two identical siblings are worlds apart sounds, I don't know, completely invisible. If they look exactly the same sitting at the Thanksgiving table, how does this text claim this difference actually shows up in real life?
Well, it pivots from biology to physics, specifically how they interact with light.
Okay, color me intrigued.
The text describes the sibling who isn't born again as essentially being darkness. And functionally, darkness just absorbs light. It pulls energy in like a black hole. But the born-again sibling doesn't just reflect light like a mirror. The text says they actively emit it.
Because they have that quickening, life-generating spirit we talked about earlier.
Right. They actively push light out into the room.
And the text uses three really specific words for this state. It says you are to be radiant, lambent, and divine. I actually had to look up lambent. It means glowing or softly bright, kind of like a flame that doesn't burn out.
Because that flame is powered by the true light of Jesus, which is referencing John 1.9. The mechanism here is that by having this new OS, you physically transition from being a passive sink that absorbs the world around you to an active radiator that, changes the room you walk into.
So what does this all mean? For you listening, what is the ultimate takeaway the author is driving at here?
I mean, it's basically a massive wake-up call to walk in the consciousness of your divine origin.
Right.
It's saying, if you truly believe you've been upgraded to a new species that generates its own light, that has to completely change how you carry yourself. You can't act like you're still running the old software.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound tension to chew on. Think back to those two siblings.
Yeah.
If a person deeply internalizes this idea that they are taxonomically, fundamentally a different kind of being from their closest non-believing family members, how might that radically alter their daily empathy, their social interactions, and really their entire view of shared humanity?
That's your call to action. You can find more information on this source material, The Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, on their website, www.rhapsodyofrealities.org.
We'll catch you next time.
We trust you were blessed by this episode. To gain unlimited access to Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, please download the Rhapsody app using the link myapp.rhapsodyofrealities.org. God bless you.